One of the big lessons from your work for me is also this idea that enough is better than more. And I'm reading from your blockbuster bestseller, The Art of Spending Money. This is page 36. Desiring less can have the same impact on your well-being as gaining more money. And desiring less does not mean giving up. It doesn't mean you don't know how to spend money and have a good time. I think it's quite the opposite. To be content with what you have is the deepest way to enjoy the house you've purchased, the clothes you wear, and the vacations you take. Talk to us about that.
Having enough does not mean you have no aspirations for more. I want to work very hard this year and earn as much money as I can. I want to do that next year and the year after that. But with as much emphasis, with as much strategy and will, I want to think about my expectations and keep my expectations in check. And when you realize that wealth is what you have versus what you want, and the wider that gap is, the worse you're going to feel. The narrower that gap is, the better you're going to feel. You can mix aspirations for wanting more with contentment with what you have and appreciation for what you have as well. And
how do you do that?
You have to go out of your way to think about it all the time because it's not normal and natural. What is normal and natural and everyone's knee-jerk reaction is, I want more, and once I have more, I'm going to be happier about it. The idea of being gracious and having gratitude for the world that we live in, for what we have rather than what we don't have, for me, it takes effort to do that. But every therapist, every psychologist would tell you how powerful gratitude is. And it sounds kind of mushy and wishy-washy, like how can that possibly be a thing? Nothing in psychology, I think, is more powerful than keeping your expectations in check and being gracious for what you already have. There's a great quote from Stephen Hawking, the great scientist who, of course, had ALS and had absolutely no control over his body. He could not even speak. He was in a wheelchair for almost his entire adult life. And he gave this interview with the New York Times several years before he died. And in the interview, he was talking about how unbelievably happy he was and how grateful he was to be able to do this research and how great his life is. And if there's any of us who have the right to complain about life, it's somebody like Stephen Hawking. If there's anyone who has the right to wake up and say, I was dealt an unfair hand in life, and I'm so jealous of you and me, it's him. And he wasn't. He was so happy. And so the New York Times asked him, they said, what's your secret to happiness? And he said, my expectations were reduced to zero when I was 21.